All right, there we go. Okay, hi, I'm Councillor Glenn, and welcome to the latest in our Team Stittsville COVID webinar series. Today, really lucky to have Gillian Johnston, who's a librarian at the Stittsville branch of the Ottawa Public Library. And I'm going to get her to introduce herself in just a moment. But we also have Veronique from my team who'll be helping us out. Welcome to both of you. What I wanted to do before we start, though, is just for everyone logging in, it might be your first time joining us on one of these webinars. So I want to just give you a little tour of this, this webinar technology. If you are using a laptop computer or a desktop computer, up in the upper right corner, there's a button that lets you switch between speaker view and gallery view. I prefer gallery view because it lets you see all of us on the screen at the same time, and it's a little easier to follow, but you can switch back and forth between that. And then on the bottom of your screen, there are a few little tools. There is a Q&A button. So we're going to use that Q&A today. We're going to have a chance at the end of this webinar. If you have questions for Gillian, you can use that Q&A tool. And Veronique will be doing some moderation of that. And we'll be keeping an eye out for your questions. So you can send a question along anytime, and we'll try to answer them as we go, or we'll save some of them for the end. We'll see what happens. There's also a chat button. So if you want to participate in the chat, we'll be sharing some links that way, and we'll be using that as well. Vero, you want to?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I'm monitoring the chat window, but for questions, the Q&A function is really better to get your questions addressed than the chat function. I mean, I'll have a look at the chat, but I want to encourage everyone to use the Q&A box to ask questions.
Okay, and I was just typing into the chat right now, a little welcome, so I'll send that out on the chat panel. Anyhow, so lots of ways that if you want to participate that you can. We'll try to make this as interactive as possible. And my usual caveat is please forgive us. We are trying new things here and crossing our fingers that all of our internet connections hold up, and who knows, we might be interrupted by kids or pets, and I guess that's part of the fun of doing this live. The other thing is we're going to be putting this on YouTube and Facebook later on today too. So you can rewatch it there and share that link with anyone you know in the community who might be interested. So with all that out of the way, Gillian, welcome. I'm really pleased you could join us. And wondering if we could start, just tell us a little bit about your background and what your role is in a usual day outside of all this pandemic stuff. What does your job look like at the library on a typical kind of day?
I'd be happy to, and thank you for everyone for joining us today. So I'm Gillian Johnston. I'm the supervising librarian for our lovely Stittsville branch, as well as our lovely Munster and Richmond branches. So hello, you may have seen me at Stittsville, Munster, Richmond. It's always lovely. I came to Stittsville after working in the Ottawa Public Library for a number of years as a business librarian, as a page, and those are great experiences. But I got the opportunity to, this spring in June, start acting at Stittsville, and it won my heart over so quickly. The community, the people who would work there, the people who would come in, everything about it. And to the point where, going backwards, I should say 2 years ago, I actually moved to Stittsville, and I couldn't be happier. Before then, I had been living in Wakefield, driving to and from Canada each day, which was fine. It's incredibly hard to leave Wakefield. It's amazing. And it was only Stittsville that got me to leave Wakefield. So congratulations, you guys are amazing. But bringing it back to the more present, I just love my opportunity, the everything I did with you guys here. And when the job came up, I applied and fortunate enough to get it. So all of that history behind us, what do I do every day in a normal day, right? I would say it might involve running a family story time, getting dancing with you and your kids, sharing stories, sharing literacy, something like that. It would also typically involve reaching out to partners in our community, setting up events, setting up support, something like that, maybe going off-site to visit you, do something together. And as well as working with my teams to plan for the short and long term. What are we going to offer you? What do people need? What are people struggling with? And trying to figure out, is this something that the library can undertake, or should we share this with another partner in a community, so sharing quite a bit. And that would just be kind of half the day. The other half, you would see me directly on the floor with you. So helping you with your account, helping you with questions, saying hello, joking around, all those fun things. It really is that half the reason why people want to be in the public library, the public part of a library. And that's what we don't have right now. And that's what we're really missing. So as much as you miss us, we miss you so much too. So what we've had to do since the facilities have closed temporarily is think about how can we still do all those amazing things for you. So we had online content and experiences well before the pandemic. We had all our ebooks, movies, music, tutorials, and so on. But what we really shifted is to adding more of that. So either more volume, getting more copies, or more access. So being able to get it from home instead of only from the library, or only in a branch, I should say. But bringing in that in-branch experience that you love so much and we love so much. So bringing story time online for you, virtual story time, so you can still have that routine, you can still have that connection with us and with your kids together and the community and your neighbors, and work on literacy as you enjoy. So one thing I would say a big shift for us has been either augmenting our offerings, buying more, or I should say, taking as much as we can of that in-person experience and putting it online for you.
So I'm interested in that because a lot of what you described in your normal job as a librarian, it sounds like there's a lot of interaction, and that might surprise some people who don't know the library very well. But there's so many programs that the library puts on. So talk a little bit about that shift. How are you taking some of that usual in-person, face-to-face, and adapting that for online now?
Exactly. So great question. We have kind of segmented things. So we've redesigned our website and are really hoping, and my apologies, I'm going to be looking at the site while I'm talking to you. Yeah. It just keeps me on track. So doing things, redesigning it so that you can get right to what you want much easier, simplifying it, stripping it down, but still making it appealing and easy to find content. So one thing I'm going to say, if you haven't used our website, one of the nice things is that at the top of each page, you're going to be able to switch between French and English.
Okay.
You're going to be able to sign into your card or get a card, and you're going to be able to contact us. So those kind of options are at the top of every page. And what I'll say, actually, I'm going to jump ahead of you, Glenn, to getting a card. So you either have a card already, awesome. If you don't, no problem. Now is as good a time as any. So you go to our website, just Google Ottawa Public Library or Bibliothèque Publique d'Ottawa, and you sign up for a card, get a card. You'll just fill out a form with your information, or you can call us. And the nice thing about this is if you do this outside of our hours, which are 10 to 5, Monday through Saturday right now, you get temporary access, which gives you access to all this online content. So you don't even have to wait. We will be in touch with you to kind of formalize the card later, but we want to make this as easy as possible while you are at home.
So,
right?
So you don't need like a physical card during this time. You can sign up and get a temporary access. Is there a cost to get a library card? That's the other thing.
That's a wonderful question. No, there is no cost to get a library card. So you sign up, you should get an email that gives you a temporary number and a password that you've chosen, and then you use those details just to sign into the website. You can use our website on a desktop, a laptop, smartphone, a tablet, some e-readers. There's a lot of options there. Please, at any time, feel free to reach out to us if you would like some support in signing into different devices and managing your account. If something isn't working, let us know. We're there for you. The nice thing about the website and your account is you can't break it. You cannot break your account. So we, library people love exploration, right? And we really want you to have fun exploring, clicking in, searching for things, borrowing digital content, signing up for virtual events. And there's no kind of, there's no penalty to this exploration, because you're going to learn more about what there is offered, how to access it, and your preferences and how to find it. But you can't break your account. So we encourage exploration with it.
Gillian, I was just wondering, we had questions about how to get a library card, which you answered. This is great. Can you renew your expired card online?
So cards should, if you have an adult card, it should renew automatically if there's no fees. I believe we are trying to make this as easy as possible. I'm just quickly reviewing our information. If your card is expired and it's not renewing, it hasn't auto-renewed, please reach out to us. We'd love to get that fixed for you so you can continue to have access. And I will give you the email and the phone number, but I'll let you know right now, if you Google Ottawa Public Library, just to find our website, under the contact link, you want the department called Info Service, which is 613-580. Ooh, I better get this right. 2940, 613-580-2940. And we'd love to chat with you and get your account up and running again.
You know, Gillian, it's probably a good time to ask too about what happens now with due dates for books and overdue books and fines and everything like that, because you've changed the policy for this situation.
Yeah, so number one thing I want to emphasize is, if you have items at your home, please keep them. Please keep them for now. We aren't accepting returns. So if you do happen to go to a library branch wanting to be, do your due diligence and return them, you will find the book drops are not accessible. You won't be able to return them. So just keep them at home. We're not thinking about asking you to return them right now. We actually want you to keep a hold of them for now. And as soon as we have details about returning them, we will share them right away. In terms of things that are checked out right now, we've automatically renewed all those due dates, including things that are interlibrary loans. If you notice something on your account has not been renewed, please reach out to us, because we want to fix that for you.
Okay. So
you shouldn't have to be dealing with due dates coming up and that are causing any, what do we say? Adding new kind of fees to your account. But yes, if something doesn't look right with your account, please get in touch with us.
Yeah. So we have a couple of questions in the Q&A about, obviously about digital content. I'm in a bit of a,
Sure.
in a list, if you don't mind. We'd like to know, like, their audiobooks, and someone is wondering if it's possible to reduce that waiting time if you're working to, like, I know there are workarounds because those have limited access, but how are you addressing the waiting times for MP3 and ebooks? And also someone would like to know how to download books onto their Kindle. So I'm assuming Kindle as opposed to a Kobo, because that would be a different format. So,
okay, I'm going to tackle Kindle first. So, if this is, the traditional Kindle, so it's very difficult to get ebooks onto the Kindle from public libraries in Canada right now, just because of ongoing discussions between Canadian public libraries and Amazon. You reach out to us, but my understanding is that the software that we need to share those ebooks with you, right now, it can be very difficult to get it to play well with Kindle. So you may have difficulty getting Ottawa Public Library ebooks on your Kindle. However, if you have a smartphone, if you have a laptop, a desktop, or a different tablet, there's a very good chance, and it's Android or iPhone, there's a good chance you're able to use the Overdrive app and so on, and more ebook resources install those apps on your phone and borrow from us. So you might be stuck on ebooks from the library on a Kindle, but still reach out to us and we'll see what we can do. In terms of reducing waiting time for your MP3s and your audiobooks, I understand. I love audiobooks so much. They're my jam. So 2 things we've been doing to try to address that in general, but especially during this stay-at-home period, have been buying more copies overall. So normally we have a ratio of X number of people are waiting. We'll buy 1 copy for, once it reaches every X demand, right? So we have been working on improving that ratio in borrowing favor. So basically getting more copies. The other thing we've been doing has been buying, when possible, more access. So unlimited access to copies. An example of this would be, it's probably not the material you're after if you're asking about MP3s, but for grade schoolers just doing their homeschooling, we bought basically unlimited access to Gale kids nonfiction books. So it doesn't matter how many people have it checked out, there's always a copy available. But I really like that question, so I'll share that feedback and the Kindle feedback with the buying department to let them know there's appetite for more volume, more copies.
So that's interesting, because I think I was going to say it's interesting. I think a lot of people assume that the digital books available from the library, that there's unlimited copies, but from what you're saying, there's actually a limited number that you can sort of allow access to, or only a limited number of people who can access them at the same time.
It's hard because we think, I'm not having to wait for someone to physically return their use with it. Why can't I have it right now? And I will say I don't work in that department right now. So this is just, I did have a time in there. So it's my own personal experience is that it can be difficult to, because we have so many enthusiastic readers in the city, which we love to see, and we want to get even more readers, getting enough copies so that everyone gets that newest release right away. It's always something that we're working on. It's always something that motivates us. And I don't have any information, like I'm not going to promise you after this, I'm going to walk down there, or I'm going to virtually walk down there and make some changes. But I will share that feedback because I agree, waiting is hard. Especially now that we're all stuck at home, we have nothing but time, right?
Yeah. And we have another question that touches on that, if I may. What kind of video courses are you planning to make available for download now that we're all home? I mean, I think some of us are home and some people are looking, trying to make the most of this opportunity to take courses, or maybe high school students or.
Yeah. That's a great question. And just one thing I forgot to note about the copies and buying is depending on the publisher we're working with and the vendor, we may be able to buy unlimited access. It may be part of our agreement, or it may be you can buy X number of copies and then you have to buy X number of copies more. And we look at what we have with our budget and what's possible. On to online training. And was this more professional development or just wanting to try a new skill?
I don't know. The person who asked the question asked for video courses.
Video courses, awesome. So if you're not already familiar, you get on the site, sign into your card, or get your temporary card and then sign in. You want to hit one of 2 buttons on that main page called Isolation Recreation. One is geared towards teens and adults, which is where we're going to head right now for this question. The other is Isolation Recreation for kids. And I recommend bookmarking either of those or both because they're just a great starting point. They have everything that you want from entertainment, education, connection, and escape, which is how I like to think of them during this time. So under Isolation Recreation, and I'm going to go into the teens and adults, we have a number of kind of categories where we've pulled all these resources together in kind of curated lists. So we have one, learn something new, I would recommend, as well as study at home. Because within them, we have linking out to a variety of resources. So if we're talking about video courses, tried and true, we do have access for you to lynda.com, which has a great variety of learning opportunities, professional development. It can be digital arts, it can be computer training, business, teaching, and more. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. We also have a lot of education-based databases. So if you're working on your language skills, if you're working on your French or English, things you can do there. We have, depending on where you're headed with your learning, Access Video on Demand is really nice. It's a lot of documentaries, a lot of educational films. So while it's not going to be the same kind of goal setting as with lynda.com, it is really nice, high quality, and you have access to a lot of great production companies within them. And let's find another one. If you are one of our budding ukulele players during this pandemic, we have access to Artist Works for You, which is a database where you can learn to play a variety of instruments as well as voice, work on your voice. And for all of you brushing up on your French, thinking of taking maybe a government test in the future, we do have a lot of resources to help you with that, whether it's focusing on your verb tenses, as well as tout apprendre. My apologies, I should practice this. We just got this, it's wonderful. So it is a database of free and unlimited courses in French. So part of the time, a lot of the trouble in learning any new language is we just need to practice it all the time in a variety of natural settings and scenarios. And tout apprendre, it has yoga lessons, it has songs, it has a variety of videos where you can just be watching and then practicing yourself. My apologies, I just am logging back in to here. But we also, just for staying up to date on things, we break down all our online resources as well on the main page by, if you click on online resources, by subjects. So if you're interested in business, or you're interested in genealogy, or you're interested in even jobs resources, we're here to direct you to databases to work on upgrading those skills, but also pointing you towards organizations that support that learning goal as well.
Yeah,
Have you, sorry, I was going to ask.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to ask if you've seen a lot of take up for new library cards and memberships since the pandemic started.
That is a wonderful question. I admit I don't know the answer, but I would love to learn too. So I will find out and I will email you guys. And if you want to include that in your next newsletter, my guess.
Yeah, it's Patrick. Patrick was asking this for the community voice. So if we get the answer, Patrick, I'll send it over to you. Yeah. It'd be interesting. I'm finding it interesting because at the library, you would see a traffic coming in and out, right? Like if there was a spike in traffic, it's like, oh yeah, people are, if the libraries were open through this pandemic, you would know, right?
Yeah.
But online, I find it's sometimes hard to get a sense of what people are doing because we don't see everything at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised because from my own experience, we see kind of increases in cards during certain periods of the year. So right before traditional back to school period, right before holidays when people are visiting from out of town and they want to help someone borrow or they just want to use the internet for a time or they need to print something. So they're kind of are around holidays or long weekends or, excuse me, if there's something you heard the library has, you haven't used the library for years, which is no problem because it's always the right time to come back to the library. If you found out about a certain resource and now you want to get access to that, hey, get on board. Those are also kind of points that motivate people to get cards. It might be that they heard about some big event we've held. So now all our big events are virtual, right? So we've got you covered for your books, for your music, for your movies, for your television, for your learning how to play and become the best saxophonist at home, for listening to your story times and boogieing it out and finding a new favorite, nighttime book, for reading about just interesting food blogs, or reading about our favorite picks for Facebook Lives of the week, that type of thing. There are also opportunity to connect, which is not something we did online before through our website. Not really, not like we're doing now. But we recognize we need it, you need it, we're going to provide it for you. So sign in with your library card or with your temporary card after you've got one. Go to either isolation recreation portals, adult and teens, or kids. And I would recommend going down to featured events, because within there, you get to see a lot of our upcoming programs. So these are, some of them are gonna look really familiar to the regulars. So the online story time, baby time, but there's also coming up this Friday at 7 p.m. in honor of April Poetry Month, we have our online poetry slam. So this is something we realized we were sad when we closed because of, we're not seeing you, we're not seeing the community, but also all our wonderful partners, all those programs we had planned, and we were really looking forward to bringing in. What do we do? When possible, we're taking them online. So this is in partnership with Urban Legends Poetry Collective. There's going to be a Zoom event this Friday. So you can sign up, get involved, listen to poets from Ottawa and around the world. And if you like slam poetry, I really recommend this. And if you've never heard slam poetry, you are in for a treat. This is going to be your rocking Friday night.
So is this in featured events?
Yes, so it should be, if you go to the website, Ottawa Public Library, Bibliothèque Publique d'Ottawa, sign up with your card, hit isolation recreation, and then
I found it.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, you're exploring already.
That's right. I'm just going to post the link in the chat box.
Yeah, we'll put these all up on my website too. This is great.
Yeah, so in terms of connecting, the format, one of the formats we're using to connect with you, either if it's something that we're delivering, so our story times, it's library staff giving those, or if it's in partnership with someone, typically you're going to see them on the Zoom meetings. So if you're familiar with Zoom, that's a lot of what we're using.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the isolation recreation is amazing, and I was wondering if the library had any plans to keep that going after the pandemic. It's an amazing resource.
I love it. There's been so much work so fast for a couple key departments in pulling this all together, but then everyone in the library as a whole curating and submitting content and ideas to bring it to fruition. It is kind of like a whole organization result. I love it. I'm not sure if we would keep it. I would hope that we would keep it and maybe just rename it something, but I will definitely pass on that feedback, because what I like about it, especially because I use my phone a lot, I don't use my computer. I like how easy it is to see and move around the page, because it's so simple. It's everything kind of in one place. Yeah. So I'll definitely let them know how much you enjoy it, and that there's been votes to keep it around. After.
Yeah, and I love that it's curated as well, right? Because I can go on YouTube to learn. I don't know. My current challenge is I'm trying to turn a heel. I'm knitting something and it's not working very well. Yeah. And so I go on YouTube and I get 500 results of varying quality. So I love that the library site is curated, and we know that there's a certain quality that comes to it. It just it saves me a ton of work as a learner, right?
Yeah, let us, if you don't have time or interest in searching, no problem. Let's do the searching for you. We love it. We love it. So you can always reach out to us. And we also are present online on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. I'll send you those links. But if you just Google Ottawa Public Library, Facebook, or Ottawa Public Library, Bibliothèque Publique d'Ottawa, or the Twitter or the Instagram, pop us a question there. Our communications team is amazing. They then send it out to all the library staff to start resourcing, like the hive mind, getting you answers, getting you recommendations for options, and then kind of formatting and sending it back to you, just some things to consider. So that could be whether it is working on your heel. It could be, your kid's just been assigned this project. There's you can't use books, or you don't have the books you need at home, what do? Get in touch with us, either social media or through our phone number or email, which are on the website. And we are happy to give you recommendations, give you ideas, link you to all the databases that we evaluate and that we can help you cite, that sort of thing.
This is great. That, I mean, we miss having the physical library, be able to take books out and everything, but maybe the silver lining of this is more people explore and see just the depth of material that the library has available online. I mean, it's pretty incredible what you can get with a library card these days.
Yeah, and we have found that a lot of our partners and vendors have been really helping us to work together. So again, for any of those genealogy fans out there, you know that in the past, you would get the library subscription to Ancestry library. You could use it in the branch, which was wonderful. We were on hand if you had any questions or wanted some help navigating the site or talk genealogy, as we enjoy. But now we have access for you from home. So you can do your whole family tree from the comfort of your home, in your pajamas, with your mug, no problem. And to supplement or support things like that, we are working on programs like the virtual genealogy drop-in, so which is hosted in partnership.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can get help and you can connect with others that way. So we're thinking along those lines too. So not just promoting all these things you can do, but how can we make this even more enjoyable for you? Well, let's think of programs, virtual experiences, connection to help.
Gillian, I wanted to ask you, what is your favorite online resource that's available through the library? What do you really enjoy digging into when you have some spare time?
Oh, that's so hard. Oh man, that's so hard. I think I really I really love my audiobooks, probably the Libby app, which is how we get a lot of our 3-week loan English audiobooks. That's how I remember it. Really like the Libby app. It's just quite simple to install. It's from Overdrive, who is owned by Kobo. So if you have a Kobo, Libby or Overdrive will work on your device. It works on all the mobile devices and your computers. But there are some really unique resources. Like I really love the Food Library A to Z. It's
Okay.
a database of food. I also really enjoy a lot of our business resources, even though I'm no longer a business librarian. It's in the blood, and I've been thinking a lot about our local businesses and trying to support them as much as we can. So my mind has kind of shifted back that way. But it's hard. It's hard to pick one. I have no musical ability, but I do love the Artist Works database. Sometimes I have been known just to watch a tutorial and think, oh, that was fascinating.
I just like the fact that I won't rack up any late fines. I'm one of those people who always it takes too long to read a book. So maybe there's a lot of people like that in the community who've got a little bit more of a grace period. But I do check out newspapers and magazines, which I found really useful, especially if you're trying to go back a little bit in the archives. I think that's a really useful thing to have at your fingertips from the library site.
That's true. So it can be difficult to get your favorite magazine especially right now. But even before this, sometimes it was just cost prohibitive. A lot of publishers were seeing more and more stop publishing physical magazines and just going digital only. So for right now, it's a really great time to explore all those newspapers, magazines, the monthlies, the ones that only come out a couple months, as well as resources that you wouldn't normally see in your local convenience store as a magazine. It might be a really nice high-end art magazine, or it might be access to a newspaper that just regionally we would never get. And we do really focus on buying in French and English so that you can have those, it's not parallel experiences, because they don't publish in French and English the same title, but so that if you want to read in French, you can read in French. If you want to read in English, you can read in English.
Before we wrap up, I gave you guys some warning beforehand, so I know you're ready for this. I'm really curious what everybody on the webinar is reading. So, Gillian, we'll let you go first. What's on your reading list right now during the physical
Okay.
distancing?
So, librarian shame, I admit I've had trouble reading during this period. I've really been working on my dance moves. I break dancing in particular, getting pretty happy with it. But when I do focus in on reading, I've been reading a lot of folk tales and myths. I really enjoy them. I love all that, and the feeling, it's very comforting. So one of them, I have Nordic tales and I have some Celtic tales. And when I go through all these, I might just see what we have online and more. But I also have, so that's my fiction read.
Okay.
It fulfills I'm a big fantasy reader, so I like fantasy, so that fulfills that need in me. But I also have a nonfiction read, Beyond the Trees by Adam, I'm going to get this wrong, A Journey Alone Across Canada's Arctic. Schultz, I apologize, so sorry. But it's about his time traveling through Canada's Arctic and really talking about the landscape and scenery, which I really don't know anything about this book. I admit I picked it up because of the cover, but I'm excited to jump in for the journey.
All right, that's great. Vero, what are you reading these days?
So I usually have two books going at any given time. I have a hardcover, like a paper book, and also have a Kobo, because the Kobo allows me to read in bed and not have the light on. So the book I'm currently reading, the real paper book is Midnight in Chernobyl, and it's really well written and well researched, and it's about it. Like that nuclear disaster is, I don't know to what extent we'll find parallels into this disaster and how it was handled by their government at the time, and the pandemic response from different countries and different leaders. I find there's uncomfortable parallels into how the USSR regime handled nuclear safety at the time that led to the Chernobyl accident in 1986, and parallels with some state response to the pandemic, which is, like I said, when there's bad news, are we hiding it? Are we pretending it's not happening? Are we reformulating it in a way that reflects well on the government? Like there's a bit of are we ignoring early warnings, and how and why? So there's some uncomfortable parallels going on here. So it's a very good read, Midnight in Chernobyl, and then on my Kobo, because it's topical, I guess, I'm reading La Peste by Albert Camus, which is the plague, and it's interesting. I read it 30 years ago when I was 15. I think most of it went over my head, and I figured I'd reread it now as a grown-up in the pandemic, and see how closely we can, like I said, find parallels. Yeah. So those are the two books currently. What about you, Glenn?
So I have put them over here. I'm reading also, I think, a topical book. It's called The Body. Can you see that there? By Bill Bryson. And each chapter is about a different part of the human body. And I'm a few chapters in, and so far we're kind of starting from the head and working down. But it's really interesting because as much as we do know, doctors and scientists know about how the body works, there's so much that we just do not understand. The body is so much of a mystery. So the author just kind of explores that with a bit of a sense of humor around it too. It's been really good. And then when I'm done that, I'm going to switch from nonfiction to fiction. And I have this book. Both of these books were gifts I got at Christmas time. This is called Bad Ideas by Missy Marston, who I think is a Canadian author. And it looks like a pretty funny book, and I could use maybe a bit of fun and distraction from everything else going on. I read so slowly, though, so I have this big, thick hardcover book, and I read when I go to bed, and I usually get like one or two pages in before I start to fall asleep. And with a heavy book, it's really dangerous because I tend to drop the book on myself. So reading can be a hazardous thing for me. Anyhow, I would love to hear, actually, if you are watching this today, whether you're watching live on the webinar or maybe you're watching on YouTube or Facebook once we add the recording, add a comment or send us an email and tell us what you're reading. It might be fun to get kind of a virtual Stittsville book club. Tell us about something really good that you're reading or have read during this physical distancing, and we'll find a way to share that out. I think that would be really interesting to find out. Gillian, before we wrap up, is there anything else you wanted to share about anything going on with the library these days?
Just that we're continuing to think of ways how to create content for you right now, and put that online so that you can keep connecting with each other from home safely. And also thinking of ways of a little longer term. So if you do have, your reality is that you're still working, you're working from home, but you're also teaching your kids from home, what can we do to help support that? So thinking in terms of resources, making that easy for you to get, making it fit in well to what you're trying to do, both whether it is entertainment, education, escape, or connection. So thinking of how we can support you right now. That's
Okay.
what we're looking at. Get in touch with us, phone, email, social media. We do have people on the phones 10 to 5, Monday through Saturday. But otherwise, you can email us. You can connect with us through our website and Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
Well, I really miss the Stittsville branch. Whether we've used your meeting room for public events, and I know there's many people in the community. Whenever we're in there, we see people using the internet there. We see students and tutors working on things. There's the historical database from Goulburn Township Historical Society, and you've always got exhibits and events and everything else going on. And we miss the physical library tremendously. But I'm just glad to see that you're making every effort to do as much as possible online, just like everybody is right now, and lots of interesting things you've shared. And I'm looking forward to. You mentioned a few things that I'm going to go explore later on today when I get a minute. And I really appreciate the information and your time today, Gillian. This has been really, really interesting.
Thank you. It was great. And again, we've been talking about connection this whole time. It was really great just to have another opportunity to do that. We miss the public part of the public library. The public is now online, so we're thinking about it that way. And just keep reaching out to us, and we're going to keep reaching out to you, all from the safety of our home.
Sounds good. And Veronique, thank you for keeping an eye on our chat and the Q&A, and thank you to everyone tuning in for all of your questions. Some really interesting questions and information being shared today.
That's great. You're welcome. As you can see, we've been learning how to color our hair too.
Oh, do you have any hair cutting tips? Is that a course I can take?
No, not cutting hair, coloring it.
Coloring.
So Ev has green and purple hair.
But seriously, Gillian, do you know if there are hair cutting courses on the library's resources?
I don't know, but I have seen a lot of people getting trims, touch-ups, highlights, and so on online. So maybe we need to think about partnership. And we still do have, make a suggestion or submit an idea on our website, or just email us. If there's something you're missing from your life right now, let's see what we can do. If you need coloring your hair at home, I don't know if we'll be able to set it up, but we will look into it. We'll do the research. You can always count on the library to do the research.
Excellent. I love that. Maybe we should do a webinar with the local hairstylists and do some cutting tips. Yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody. This has been a lot of fun. And our next webinar is on Friday. It's with Sergeant Mo Elmy from the Ottawa Police, who will be joining us. On Tuesday, we're just finalizing the details. We're going to do a webinar with a number of local businesses to see how they're adapting to this. And then on May 1st, which is a week from Friday, Dr. Vera Mitches will be here, and she'll be taking questions directly from Stittsville residents and sharing all the latest information you need to know from Ottawa Public Health around COVID-19. So I've got all these links to the registration for the webinar up on my website, and we'll keep adding more as the weeks go on. So have a great rest of the day. Take care. Bye.